What is up, YouTube? Bubbles and Ball Cards back with another video. Got several different things that I want to go over this evening. So stick with me. A few different topics. First and foremost, I will let everybody know if you were in the February group submission for SGC. It has been shipped out and is on its way back to us. So we should have it, barring any issues, tomorrow. So just wanted to let everybody know that. Want to go ahead and touch on this real quick. If you have not heard or seen already, it has been announced that Certified Collectible Group, the owner of CGC, who does cards, comics, VHS tapes, all kinds of different collectibles. They do video games, all sorts of stuff. They have officially acquired James Spence Authentication, better known as JSA, who is very well known and has a long history in the hobby of autograph authentication. If you aren't aware, James Spence used to actually be an autograph authenticator for PSA DNA years ago, and then opened his own business, JSA, and now has been acquired by CGC. So, there's lots of different ways, and I'm not going to go through all of this, but there's a few interesting pieces that go to this. We mostly currently had in the card side of things, PSA DNA and Beckett to do like in-person autograph authentication and encapsulation. And JSA has been asked, for years, hey, will you guys ever encapsulate cards? So you're kind of getting two services now combined into one. CGC, who before did not do autograph authentication, now will be able to handle autograph authentication. I believe this might actually, and I don't know if it's stated, I haven't read this whole press script, but it could potentially help in the eBay authenticity guarantee portion, because obviously CGC is who handles the raw cards. And I always felt it was weird because, you're sending them cards that have autographs on them, yet they do not authenticate autographs. Another little element, and if you go down here, let's see. In April, collectors of autographed comic books, magazines, sports cards, trading card games, and non-sports cards will benefit from a seamless submission experience where they can use a single online form to submit their collectibles for JSA autograph authentication and CGC grading and encapsulation. More services and enhancements will be announced in the months ahead. So, you're looking at it beyond cardboard, looking at the comic book side of things. JSA used to only do the comics if they were holding an autograph session for an artist or a writer or whatever. They would have people come in and sit there and sign the books, and then that would be the way that they officially authenticated them before grading and encapsulation. Now, the interesting thing is this opens it up to everything. And I think that will be something that people will enjoy. And it, again, on the card side, it gives collectors another option for in-person autographs to be authenticated and encapsulated. I actually have a couple myself, that I would be interested in seeing how much the service is going to be for, because I do like CGC's holder, and these cards are in-person auto, and I don't, there's no secret, I am not a fan of PSA, and I've never once used Beckett, but I do have, the authorized dealer for CGC, so I could, and I've also been partnered with JSA, since I don't know what, 2021 or something like that. So the merger here, I've already dealt with both companies before, and so it'll be interesting to see how much it helps them individually. I don't know that it'll help JSA as much because they've already had the authentication side of things, but it'll be interesting to see how much service gain the CGC might get from it. So, all right, next topic here. I want to talk about I don't know, it's been going on. I'm behind the beat on doing a video or anything on it on the topic. And quite honestly, I wasn't going to, but I felt also as being someone that has been a bulk submitter and, we've graded, I don't even know how many thousands of cards, not only personally, but for others. I felt it was a topic worthy of myself just addressing with my 2 cents. Um, Not everybody's going to agree, but not everybody is going to disagree. I've already had a discussion in the Discord group. There are some folks in there that they agree on it being allowed, and I am of the other thought. And the topic is whether or not it is okay to use the Kurtz card care and other things to clean or restore or whatever you want to call it a card. And I think there's many different aspects and elements that people are looking at, many different ways they're discussing it, many different things or terminologies that they are using towards it. And when you get right down to it, it is against the terms of service. I don't care what you want to compare it to. I get absolutely sick of hearing this collectible. I just talked about CGC. We're going to go over terms of service here because, yes, CGC allows comic book pressing. That is an accepted practice. They offer that service. But in their terms of service for cards, it specifically states different layout. Now, people are like, oh, well, they can't catch it. They don't see it. Does that make it right? No. You could print $100 bills and pass them along to people, and they may not have a clue. Does it make it right? No. You look at other collectibles, since so many people want to compare little, things that they pick out of the air to say, well, they do this and it's okay. Well, let's look at action figures. I do a lot of reselling now, and I go around sourcing different items and checking out different collectible spaces. I've talked that, I was kind of dabbling in a few other things. Let's look at action figures in the collectible space there. You can 3D print replacement, weapons, accessories, and that sort of thing, and they look just like the originals. Is it going to make the action figure complete and worth the same amount as having the original pieces? Absolutely not. People collect glass. If a glass gets chipped or cracked or whatever, and you glue it up and cement it up, does that make it worth what it would be in pristine condition? Absolutely not. People throw around artwork. Well, I've never seen another copy of the Mona Lisa, and it's a pretty significant art piece. It's in a museum. It's not on eBay being sold or at a card show in a piece of plastic being transacted over and over and over again based upon hype and performance of a player or, a fictional character or whatever. It is literally a piece of art that there is one that exists of. So sure, restoration makes a hell of a lot of sense. I just don't get these people that they're throwing away all of the legitimate thoughts behind it in twisting it into where it benefits their motive. It all boils right back into how can you make more money? How can you get more money out of this? It has not a damn thing to do with the collectability of the card. It's all about, well, I got this out of a pack, and in a 10, it's worth $2,000. So I got to get that 10. And, they're not going to see the Kurtz card care on it. So why not just do it? And that way I can get to 10 and I can make more money, right? It's fair game. It's fine. It's accepted. Everybody does it, right? Hey, the problem is that's not the case at all. In fact, Kurt's Card Care, and I've never bought it. I've heard some people that have dissected it a little bit and their thoughts on it. I'll likely tell you that it's probably some eyeglass cleaner, some diluted isopropyl alcohol for the spray, and the wax, from what I heard, is likely a beeswax component. So there's no secret sauce to it, but let me just further educate you that you don't need Kurt's Card Care. You can literally take car wax and wax a card and send it in, and it won't be caught, because as long as you're wiping it off, there won't be residue. Does it make it right? Absolutely not. That is my point behind all of this. Two wrongs don't make a right. You waxing the card up because you think, oh, they're not going to find it, and them not identifying it, that doesn't make it right. You are knowingly doing something to the card that you know should not be done. Hence why it is a damn topic to begin with. Hence why people are upset about it to begin with. You know it isn't right. We're so talking about, the future of the hobby and trying to grow the hobby and how can we make things better and this and that and the other. And every time we turn around, there is another topic that has to be debated upon that literally separates and divides the hobby over and over and over again. It's getting chopped into pieces by pieces by pieces over and over and over. And every time you dissect it down further and further, the worse and weaker it gets. You already have modern versus vintage, flipper versus collector, PSA versus any other grading company. And now, is it right or wrong of whether or not we clean cards? There's so many things that people just can't agree on. And the funniest part is the main reason and the main discussion is about cleaning it to send it in to be graded. Well, I thought grading was to take a lot of the questions out of the entire process. And that was what it was intended to be for, to make things better, to have less questions. And, these companies are putting out 1 million plus or 100,000 plus or whatever. They're more worried about getting the shit out the door and not piling it back up to 12 million card backlog than, going and getting some high-tech equipment. I get it. They're making money. They don't want people pissed off again. They don't want to overwork their employees or whatever. I get that part of it, but that doesn't mean that us as the collectors, us as the people submitting it, take advantage of that, because we know it is not right. And how do we know it is not right? Let's go look at some terms of services, because apparently people don't know where these buttons are to click and read the fine print. So I will go through it with you. For PSA, number 2 right here, it literally states, PSA will not grade items which bear evidence of trimming, recoloring, restoration, or any other form of tampering, or are of questionable authenticity, and customer agrees not to knowingly submit any such items. Customer agrees to not do any other form of tampering, to not do restoration. Customer agrees. No, apparently the customer does not, because the customer wants to see what the hell they can get away with and how much freaking money they can make. It doesn't matter what the rules are. It's all about how much money the customer can make. That is the damn problem. Okay? Let's go over here to SGC. Line item number 7. Again, customer agrees not to knowingly submit cards to SGC that bear evidence of trimming, recoloring, restoration, or any other form of tampering, or are of questionable authenticity as determined in the sole judgment of SGC, quotes, altered cards. Okay. Company number 2 also states customer agrees, restoration, or any other form of tampering. Let's go over here to CGC. What do they got to say? Line item number 3. Customer represents and warrants that it has no knowledge and no reasonable basis for belief that any collectible submitted is not genuine or contains any non-disclosed. This is the whole thing of being, it's essentially a scam. It is deceitful. It is trying to step and walk on the line and just see how much you can get away with because, oh my God, I gotta get the 10. But go back over here. Has no reasonable basis for belief that any collectible submitted is not genuine or contains any non-disclosed alterations or restorations, including, but not limited to, trimming, recoloring, bleaching, power erasing, rebacking, artificially toning, applying or removing punches or stamps, or any other method used to change or enhance the appearance, condition, or content of a collectible. Collectively, quotes, tampering or quotes, tampered, customer acknowledges that tampering is wrongful and violations of this Section 3 shall entitle company to compensatory damages and injunctive relief as appropriate. You realize they are literally saying this is illegal. It's literally legal. But let's be deceptive because they won't catch it. Makes perfect sense. Beckett, BGS, good old BGS. Item line 11A. All fees paid to Beckett are non-refundable once the order begins. Actually, that's not the correct one here. Right here. Please note, cards showing evidence of counterfeiting, tampering, or restoration will be charged the full amount according to the service options selected, as the determination to reject an item requires review by Beckett graders and authenticators. There was something else here. I thought there was something else that they had it in here, but anyway, you get the point. It's all on there. Restoration, any other form. Where is it at here on CGC? Any other method used to change or enhance the appearance, condition, or content of a collectible. It's written in the terms of service. All 4 of the major companies, they all specifically state that the customer agrees to it. And instead, we are having this debate on whether it is okay. It says it on every freaking website that you agree to the terms of service. Every website. This is just like people not understanding the grading standards. Oh, well, that's not a 10 because, this or this. That's not a 9. That's not. Read the freaking standards and understand them. Now, is it arguably sometimes questionable consistency? Okay. But half the people out there don't even have a damn clue what the standards are or what can't be done or anything of the sorts. And I would likely bet money that most people don't even know where these terms of services are, where to find them, or that they even existed, because there is a lot of information on these websites that I guarantee people haven't read. It is, oh, well, I got this card out of the pack. I'm going to put it in my card saver. I'm going to send it off, and bam, it's going to get a 10, and I'm going to make me $1 million. That's what it is. That is all it is. There is no other aspect to it that people gives a shit about, except for how much money is it in a 10. That is the only importance to this hobby anymore. How much is it in a 10? That's the only question that needs to be answered. Oh, and is it okay that we clean the cards? No, it is not. That is a simple answer. It's stated for you on every single company's website. The answer is no. Period. Now, I want to talk about another aspect of grading. I'm going to go over here. I stated that the SGC order was going to be on its way back. We got upcharged. There was a card that got upcharged. A $250 upcharge on this card. The value of the card, just so you're aware, is approximately $4,500. I am discussing this because, again, some people don't understand fully the rules, so I want to make it more clarified. Peter has verbally stated there has been SGC posts that state no upcharges on anything 2000 to present, the year 2000 to present. But in their website, in the terms over here, where you go and pull up the pricing and everything, it does not specifically state that. The card that was upcharged is a vintage card, so I do want to make sure that is clear. I have been upcharged on a card one time in the past that I was not expected to be upcharged on. And then we were upcharged on the order that had the two 1952 Mickey Mantles, as well as some other 1952s and a 54 Hank Aaron. And then there was a 86 Fleer Michael Jordan back when the Jordans were nearly $1 million, 800,000 or whatever it was, that the submitter swore to me that the card was legitimate, thought that he personally thought it had a chance to be a 9.5 or even a 10. And so in order to submit at that level, and you're talking, a card over $500,000, it needed to be submitted at a higher level. Unfortunately, that card wound up being counterfeit. I think it was known from the start, but it was felt that if the upcharge was paid for, that maybe it would get by, and it did not. I actually dug into some more details. It was a very good counterfeit, and was able to figure out some differences that identified it as such as being a reprint that aren't commonly known on the 86 Fleer set. I passed that on to Ryan, who did Spotting Fakes, and I believe he added that information into the book under the Jordan. So that was a big learning lesson. Whether the guy that submitted it truly knew or didn't know, that's beyond the point. But anyway, we have been submitting for 4 years, and those are the only instances that we have ever been upcharged on. This most recent one is this order. The previous occurrences was the Mantle order, a Sandy Koufax that was like a 6 or something like that. I can't remember what the grade was. And then the Jordan that I just mentioned. I've always told people, anything prior to 2000, if there is a chance, it could possibly be upcharged. But it sucks as a submitter to have to make that phone call, especially when people have submitted so long, like our longtime people, and they've gotten big cards back, or they've seen big cards come back and no upcharge occurred. And then, this one, which I'm not saying it's a small card, $4,500, but when you have seen that we have submitted $30,000 cards that didn't get upcharged, like, it kind of is questionable. It also, me personally, I mean, if we're going to say that ultra modern cards are 5, 6 figures now, sometimes even higher. People, there's a Bedard $1 million bounty and everything. The value there is way excessive than most of these vintage cards, realistically. I know that there is a lot of experience that it takes to, evaluate the vintage. You got to look a lot more for trimming and the scams and the scummy parts of the hobby, going back to the cleaning. Every time you add an element to shit that shouldn't be done is just adding another scummy element to a hobby that's already, engulfed with it. So, but anyway, um, my point to this is there is a rule again in the terms of service, and I'm going to go over it right here. It is number 6, and it says SGC reserves the right to issue upcharges on any item for any reason, including but not limited to items requiring custom modifications to the black insert component in SGC's holder, commonly referred to as custom cuts. Those items requiring any amount of research, oversized items, cards measuring larger than 3.5 by 5.5, or any other non-standard items. So basically what this is saying is if they have to do some special cuts or oversized items, but it specifically states they reserve the right to upcharge on any item for any reason. It is such a blanket statement out there. I just want people to be aware because there has been concern, there has been discussion. Will SGC go to a PSA type style on a value basis? I will tell you, since the first time I ever spoke with anyone from SGC, Peter told me that day he sees no point in upcharging ultramodern cards. But now Peter is not necessarily, he's still in charge of SGC, but he now has an element above him that may want to dictate in a different manner. And so I'm just wanting to let people know, I'm not saying that's what happened. This could just be coincidence. This was our first order since the acquisition, but it's very weird. I also got some information because I asked what value they assessed the card at because I was just curious what they had it at. And I was given several different dollar amounts, including not just SGC dollar amounts. So it got me thinking, are they using card ladder data now because card ladder is owned by collectors and now SGC is owned by collectors? So maybe that's playing into it. I don't know. My point really, they can upcharge. It has always been a rule. And if you are submitting cards, just be aware that there is a possibility for that. You can go here if you would like to know possibly how much the card, how much it would cost you if it got upcharged. And here is the list. Obviously, I said the card that got upcharged was $4,500, and so that falls between $3,501 and $7,500. So that got upcharged $250. So it sucks, but they have not been strict on it. I don't know if that's changing. I want to just make everybody aware. And, if you have something really, really nice and it could potentially have some value and it is before the year 2000, just kind of prepare yourself because I don't want anybody sending something in, winds up getting a shock with, if I have to make a phone call and be like, hey, you owe me $250 or you owe me $500 or, if we get something up there in the where it would be thousands, that stuff's going by itself and you would already know. And you should expect that. But anyway, it just really boils down to it's always been a rule. This isn't a new thing. This isn't because collectors owns them now. The only thing that might change is they may enforce it more. And I'm not even going to say for sure that's the case. But just to be safe and just to prepare yourself, know that it is a possibility. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for you. I know some people are going to disagree with the card cleaning thing, and it is what it is. I really think that we need to work on improving the hobby and not continuously breaking it down. It just gets sick and old of, I mean, it's literally deceptive behavior. That's why it's kind of like this, theory of, if you have to ask the question because it could be negative, then you likely already know the answer. And when people are doing these things, you know that you're just trying to beat the system. You're trying to, you know, it's okay if it betters you. It doesn't matter the effects of anybody else. It doesn't matter the effects of the end user. If it works to your advantage and you can benefit from it, then you're okay with it. And that's what I feel like this discussion has been all about. The people who are supporting it are the ones that are looking at it and trying to make the excuses of the other collectibles do this and the other collectibles do that, because they're only looking at it benefiting them. They're not looking at it benefiting anybody else out there. I'm going to leave it at that. I appreciate all of you. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and until the next video, I'm out.